This is the Healey Brothers Show.
So today's a very different episode. We have some nice guests with us. So obviously there's Jay and I here, but these two gentlemen, this is Justin and this is Drew.
Hi.
They are team members on our media team as well. What are their exact positions? What is the title?
So let's just start off with these guys are the original members, but let's let them introduce themselves and give it a little detail of how long it's been and what we're doing here.
I'll let the elder statesman go
So
first.
they're also partners in the same thing. So they kind of lead the way of our whole social media, digital team, and inventory and photos. So I'll let them introduce
Justin,
themselves.
as you guys know, been working here. I think this year will be 20 years.
Jeez.
Started inventory, photographer. Back then, and then we kind of shifted. My manager at the time, I took over his job. I think like 3 years after, if I remember correctly, and then we had a whole team. It was just me doing photography first for all the stores. I remember we had Mount Kisco, Hyundai.
Social media wasn't even around
And
yet.
then we didn't have any social media then. But I remember, it was kind of like, it was there, but we never did anything. But from there, we kind of just went on to, I was the manager at that point, and then we had photographers join in. We stacked up. So that's my first thing, is doing inventory. And then we started really, Drew, I hired you with John Kerner and
What
Brad.
years were these?
When did you start?
I started with you in 2007.
Okay, so yeah.
So
So,
17
3 years after.
Yeah.
And Drew worked his way up.
Yeah, I started
Well,
before
website
that.
design too and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I started before that when I was working at Ford on 211. And I was trying to learn how to sell cars, and I wasn't, not that you want to be pushy, but I'm not very good at selling them. I know a lot about the cars, and I love them. And
He'll bore you to
I
death.
was great. Yeah, I could have told everyone everything about them, but I just, didn't fall in that line. But then I, took a year and finished high school and all that. And then in 2007, you all hired me to do pictures.
Yeah, it was
So,
John.
so you started
Yeah,
while
yep.
you were still in high school?
Yeah, started working for Healey when I was still in high school.
Oh, and he worked for a very special lady too.
I did. Shout out to Phyllis Ludis.
So Phyllis was a salesperson. So Judd, let's keep going with you.
Yeah, let's go with you.
Let's keep leading where we started. Now we know where we started. Where are we at now? And kind of what's the future hold?
Yeah, 2004 started inventory, photographer, went to manager, and then from there we had a team. The team kind of was like really growing at that point. We had like a lot of people doing inventory photography, going all over to dealerships. But then from there we started. Once Drew was hired, he was doing photos.
Yep.
So then from there, I think you and I really started to see the social media aspect with YouTube. And like we would sit down and sketch plans out. Oh, let's figure out how we could do a thing on a Ford Explorer or something. And we'd drive down the road and we have a script.
Yep.
And then he'd drive the road and he's like, no, back up. You got to go forward. And we'd be like, the camera wasn't even on. We had to turn the camera back on and all these, we were experimenting with social media through YouTube. It was him and I kind of really started to really get it going. And that's how it started. But
Facebook became a thing.
And then Facebook, yep.
It was always a thing, but it was originally for.
Yeah, we couldn't access it. When
You couldn't.
first-
It was for college students and high school students to communicate with each other, and it was like a yearbook basically. But eventually, I started in 2007, the same year as the iPhone came out, and that was the big change.
But I think
The iPhone.
the YouTube was where we really saw the value.
Absolutely.
So getting that started was, taking a couple, and we were just doing it just to do it. We weren't like, it was just something we liked to do. So we started doing
It was
that.
kind of like the extra on top of what we were already doing with pictures and web design and
web
things
design
like
and all
that.
stuff.
Oh yeah. No, it all started from there. But
Now, thinking back, we did hire some people. Can't remember exactly who was the people. I don't know. We hired like a couple people.
yeah.
If you can remember, that would help us out.
Oh yeah.
But it was more like inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we helped. I was always helping out.
You were
and,
there.
yeah,
You and your
taking
brothers were in
pictures.
there.
It was always a good time. So So now we got those early stages. We know it was inventory, some website design. We got into YouTube early. We were thinking about other ways. Obviously, that's one thing that you guys brought is like, hey, how can we get our brand out there? Like, not just sit there and stay dormant. We were on social media early. Granted, were we the best? No, we probably sucked compared to the people that were first on in other companies. But then now, like, we have this huge team and a process of how content flows and creating. So if you just want to touch on, like, I mean, what do we have? 15 to 20 full-time and part-time creators and people that post. If you just want to talk about, like, now our photographers, they create content now. So if you want to touch on that, and then we'll let Drew give a little background.
Yeah, I mean, I think back, I always get intertwined with inventory photographers and our content creators because there's a lot of photographers. Then we that's how it entered into more of a content thing because people are still out. They're out in the workforce, like on the field, creating, photos, so which also can be content. So it was a lot of like little mixture of those two. But then we really saw the value of having, that
Both.
talk about our brand and have that intertwine with each other, and it worked great. So from there, we just saw the value of having in-house team. It was great. We had a lot of great people create great content. We're still doing really well. And now that we got, Nicky and Steven, we're really
Bunch of other guys. Like, it's a full powerhouse push to create content.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing me and Nicky were talking about, and I talk about with the guys on Tuesdays, is if you're not creating content for your brand, you're just gonna die. You're not gonna exist. Like, the digital world's where everyone is, and whether it's we still have in person, we still have the Healey branding at our facilities and stuff, but the digital area, the social media where you can interact and show your brand is so important. And like, the brands that don't think it is or don't take it serious are gonna fizzle out in the coming years. And I say that from like for other dealers too, and I tell them, like, even in 20 group, they're like, oh, I'm not really on it. I was like, you got to get on it. You got to show your brand. You got to show what you're about. And I think we've taken it to the next level with you guys obviously leading the way and really showing these guys of how important it is to brand and bring attention to Healey as well. Because you guys know it is just as good as us. Like, you don't know anything else, and I don't know anything without you guys. Like, it's family here. It's been that long where I really have I don't know any difference.
That's absolutely it. It's when you talk about other brands and branding, when you look at our team right now, it's very complex, and we've grown it to be complex, but branding can be simple.
Yeah.
You can start small. We started super small.
Two people for about 7 years.
It was just you two.
It was just us two at first. I mean, kind of, and we had Jay and his brothers, and we had buy-in from, Jay's dad, from Dwight and Paul, and
Brad was a big
part of it. And at first it was kind of, we had to sell the idea a little bit, but once things started to progress, and like I said, I mean, look at the year I started was the first year of the iPhone, and that wasn't as big a deal as, their social media wasn't really on there. The apps, you used what came on there, and maybe a couple games, but now everyone's on there for I could do my entire almost job from the phone
exactly.
alone. So that's how you start. You start just like these things. It's all about technology and about growth from being simple to being this complex machine that we started from 2, now have 20.
Yeah.
Is it really 20?
It's close.
Full time and like part time. It like goes back. It teeters. We like to have more full time because there's so much to do, and now like we're trying to get also more photos of inventory. That's really where we need to pick up the pace a little bit. And obviously Justin knows that it's just hard to find the right guys. Like, he has to train them, the process. Which is important to us. It's not just like, hey, go out there and take pictures of cars, or we don't do that. We need to be perfect every time. And he it's a reflection on how he critiques photos, so he wants it to look good. So, and it goes on our website, which is where you sell cars. It's where you get the person attracted to, especially used inventory. So, Drew, if you just want to touch on, we heard Justin's flow, your touch on now with a little bit, because I know me and you do marketing every single day, not just social media. So if you just want to touch on Pat as well.
And that goes into what I was saying about the complexity of it all, is that, every piece is intertwined. Whereas the dealership, sales is intertwined with service, is intertwined with parts. You're now adding our component into it, the digital side. So on top of all the social media, of which, if you look at all the accounts that are considered social media, our company has over 54 accounts.
Crazy.
Yeah. That we manage daily, and from there you have accounts that you advertise off of. You have websites. So with all of our brands and the main website combined, you're talking about 11 websites that we're constantly working on and evolving and following the analytics on, and making sure that we're marketing to the best of our ability and to the best of what our customers are expecting out of us, and the way we want to project our brand, because there's the newspaper is not a big thing anymore. People
Thank God we got rid of that a long time ago.
People used to come in carrying sheets of the newspapers. I remember that in 2005, 6, when I was working in the showroom, people had the newspaper and they said, "I want that car."
Yeah.
I mean, and you could come in back then and the newspaper was a week old and you had none of the cars that were in there. And now people instantly know what car you've got. They come in, they're on their phone. You got to make sure that, we're consistent and our brand messaging is consistent and our brand values are consistent. And that's really, you're managing more than just a website. You're managing the way that your brand is portrayed and projected. And you want to make sure that you have those values out there and everyone are easily accessing them, and that your company is open and honest.
Yeah,
and, that,
and another...
we're thankful that we're
I think
doing
a good
that
term
here.
for it is you're marketing a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the best way that I can think of it. And a company that I love reverting back to when I think about it is Red Bull. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Red Bull's an energy drink, right? So instead of selling their drinks, what did they do? They sold a lifestyle. They freaking have people jumping from, I don't know how far up.
They have
it was
race
in the
cars.
I was
atmosphere.
going to
dirt
say,
bikes,
Jay, I've been waiting for Healey races.
Yeah, well, now that hold on.
So that
So
was
Ford,
the idea of it.
Yeah.
Was lifestyle.
Yeah,
That's
so
how they branded.
Ford now is involved with F1. So hopefully they don't. I don't want to knock on Ford, but hopefully they don't ruin the Red Bull team. But
That's right. They're
Yeah.
but another thing to add on Drew's, like, we do represent other brands and factories because we're a franchise dealer. The big part when he's saying perceive our brand, it has to be as similar as possible across all these different stores and brands. And they have their influence on us as well. But the main thing we're here for is to show Healey. Yes, Healey sells Ford, Healey sells Hyundai, but the most important thing is Healey, and that we're similar and portrayed on each, whether it's each website, each social media channel, even at the stores. We have a cohesive brand that is the same and does the same things everywhere, and that's like so important to the viewer. We don't want to be so different when you go from a Ford to a Hyundai. Like, we want to be perceived the same way. Yes, there's some different tweaks, but overall, it's that same feeling, it's that same touch, it's that same brand that we stand behind every single day. So that's a big part. And we worked. I mean, when I first got full time out here, me and Drew, I think, work daily to try to just get marketing all in one area so it's controlled and has the same feeling, instead of like having managers like do one deal here and then other manager would drop mail in his backyard or whatever it was. But that was a big part of it, and Drew helped, and that's why all our websites some kind of feel the same as well. So it's a lot of work, and then that's why we control social media too in one house, not let the stores control it, because
You wouldn't know what's going to happen.
yeah, it might get a little out of control. Like, Justin has his pulse on it. He knows what Healey stands for. He knows what's good. Drew knows what's good. You guys understand now what we look for, which is phenomenal. You kind of get the big picture, and having the same guys there, you can get that better feel too. So,
But you never know down the line, because we are growing.
Yeah.
You might have somebody sitting at each store.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true.
They're
Yeah.
full
That's something
time,
that you
40
guys
hours a week.
but that would be controlled by
But
you guys
yeah,
to
there'll
have the
still
same.
be
Yeah.
a good connection between the store level and the
Well,
management.
It
department.
brings the. I guess if you were to have someone, and this is just talking at a brand in general, have someone at each individual location, and you didn't have any control over it. The thing with media and marketing and how fast things are nowadays is that a lot of emotion can be brought into it that you don't necessarily mean to. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all have our own opinions on things. And some people may comment, "I don't like that car" or whatever, and you don't. your idea as a brand is to say, okay, well, we understand that. And, it's not to people, like to attack brands and, I don't like that, or this, my car was broken for 5 years and it seems like it, they never got fixed. And yeah, every brand has its own issues, and no, we don't build the cars, but we still have to understand and work with people's emotions. And it's social media is just as much of a social construct as anything else. You got to play off of what the public has to say and has concerns about, and that's part of us being aware and having a great team together is that when people message in online, we have someone there who's actually answering them. It's not a bot. You're getting actual people, because we have to understand that there's this human connection behind all of it. And that's part of the big value of our brand, I think, is that
nothing's outsourced. Everything is us, authentic, local.
That's it. When you say family owned, it is a family business.
It's and responding to comments. It's not just an outside company. That's right. That's us, our team, handling those. And if it's not me or Drew, sometimes, which it is, it's we have Stephanie. There's people that always jump in and handle it. Steven's answering questions on TikTok. Like that's and shout out to Steven. He's always behind the closed doors over there. So he's the one answering. So
get him on camera.
You guys were talking about growth, right? Yeah. You went back starting in 2004. You were talking about it, but I think you guys have to mention about the exponential portion of it, right? So I started in what year? We think 2021. You think this year? Yeah. Right. When I started, there was maybe 4 people. Yeah. Right. If I think Glenn, we were just talking. I think David, one other person, Justin, and you. Yep. Right. And that was it. And there was not really any actual legitimate content creation. And that's just when I started 4 years ago is when I started, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys are talking about the growth over 17, 20 years is what you're talking about. But I think you got to mention the exponential amount of it. I can kind of still remember the first time Justin said to create content, right? It was so vague, and it was with my phone, and if I got to find the video somewhere, and it's just panning shots of a line of Durangos. Yeah. The most simplest thing with some cheesy music behind it, nothing enjoyable. Not even really enjoyable, right? No information in it, nothing enjoyable. Right. And that was 3-4 years ago. So if you go back and you think of that with a team of maybe 4 or 5 people creating the most basic content you can think of, and then fast forward 3-4 years, and our content has drastically changed, and there's more and more people specifically hired as content creators. That wasn't even a position when I started. Yeah. That wasn't an actual label that was a thing. I was just a photographer. Even when Steve started, I don't think content creator was a label that was there yet.
We need more of your friends, by the way. we need more of your friends.
I think it was still just photographers what the label was. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, in such a fast snowball effect, it just changed.
Yeah,
super quickly. For the better, though. For the better. And it just changed super quickly. And it's continuing to evolve. This was I'm trying to think. The podcast was probably, I think, when we had my review at the end of 2022, I think was when I brought it up and mentioned it or something like that.
And we tried a different route. It just didn't work out that flow. We failed a couple times at it.
The first 2 were not like the others. We never posted them, honestly.
Happens. Yeah,
but no, that does happen. It's normal. It's okay. I remember the first one, Steve can remember, we did super late at night, and there was a woman vacuuming behind us in Kia. Right? Yeah. I messed up the mics. I didn't have them on the same channel.
We failed at a lot of things, though, at social media at first.
And that's okay. So it changed drastically. That was the first one we shot. It was hilarious. We found it funny. We tried stopping it, but the lady just kept vacuuming. It is what it is. Yeah. Right. But so the snowball effect of how much the team has grown and changed, even just in my tenure, is
that's content right there, Nicky.
So let me touch on this a little bit. So real quick on that, one thing that I know we're not scared to do is to try something and fail at it. Yeah. And also, if we do try something, we go all in, and we're going to be persistent with it, consistent, and make sure it gets done. That's what just shows drive and accountability to try something and see it through. We're not just going to stop this. Yeah, we don't have a ton of followers, ton of engagement, but it's the content that it creates for our followers that humanizes the Healey brand and shows what we're about and has different people on it. And you get a more inside feel I could trust that brand. I see what that brand's about. So that's that. But when we first started just doing social media, it was just Justin getting content and Drew posting it on all of them, like on his phone. We had nothing, and Drew's like,
Sprout.
yeah.
Oh,
And Drew,
yeah.
no, but then Drew was like, dude, we had like Sprout Basic. Drew's like, dude, we need something. Like, I can't just do it. Drew was like this for probably
Oh,
2 hours
yeah.
like this. Meanwhile, he's trying to
With
take
thumbs.
care of our websites with us. We're trying to figure out new marketing schemes with JK, and he's just like this on his phone. I'm
How'd
like,
your thumbs?
And it looks like,
They're okay now.
and Justin started doing it. And Justin was like, I got
but
this.
when you're on this phone, not back then, but like
Yeah, I
years
know what
ago,
you
it
mean.
looks like you were doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
You're
right,
on your
exactly.
phone,
And it
was like,
took double as long.
like, what are
too.
you doing on your phone? Social media, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and nowadays, like
Now it's-
we have, we'll talk about that. We have Stephanie in the office. She's so quick on her phone. She's more comfortable to do stuff on her phone. I'm like, what do you do? She's like,
That was a crazy.
yeah, I know. And she's like, oh, I'm just so much quicker and easier on the apps with my phone. I was like, oh, well, whatever you need to
That's it.
do. And that girl
That's
works.
my generation.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Well, I like-
she's older than you, but
Not by a lot, but
yeah.
when I'm talking about my generation, we were talking about Facebook first
Yeah.
started. I remember when I was a little kid and my brother had to go on our computer at the house to use Facebook. That's how I remember Facebook when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
was having to go on the computer.
oh yeah, that was for
So
everyone.
now when
I
you're
mean,
saying being
we're
more
using
comfortable on
dial-up
the
for
phone.
Facebook back then.
I was gonna
You think
say-
I ever went on Facebook or Instagram on a computer? God, no.
Right,
What the hell?
right,
That wasn't
right.
a thing for me. So being more comfortable on the phone, that's like an our generation thing. Like that's how we grew up.
You
with
probably don't even know
everything
half
on
this
the
stuff.
phone.
I mean, I had stuff that we all had. Like,
No, absolutely
But-
not. I was 7 when he started.
Look at our web.
Yeah.
Look at our web traffic
Yeah.
nowadays. 80% mobile.
yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean, are you kidding me? That's absolutely insane.
So when we started exponentially growing in social media, it was just them doing it, and we were doing a decent job. We were getting content out there and having engagement. It wasn't the stuff we wanted. We tried different things. We tried some other programs to work with and make it, and it just wasn't authentic. It wasn't working as well as we wanted to. And I think we had a meeting like around 2020. We're like, hey, let's just get creators and just do it. Like, let's let's have photographers do it first. Like, they're always out in the field. Why can't they do both? Let's really try it and go that route. And we tried it. It worked kind of good. And we're like, and Justin's like, you go, hey, I got to separate these guys. We need full-time content creators. I think I texted you back. I was like, just go for it. Who cares? Like, we
Yeah.
need some more people. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, we'll try it out. And now it's like, it's crazy. We want more. We want more people. And you're like, hey, we need more people. It's not that hard. And we're not just going to hire anyone. Like, we need someone that's going to work hard and understand it, listen to direction, and see and understand our brand and our culture. So that was that. And you guys were all in for it. Like, hey, we need more people. Like, we need more people to creating the content, more people that have the feel, more people that can get our managers to do it. And I think now our management team expects content creators like, oh, like, where was he today?
Right.
And which happens like, oh, can I get him over tomorrow? Like,
Oh,
I mean,
we get a lot of emails with like Gil messaging us about something that's happening, the yoga that Lenny didn't want to do, right?
yeah.
He didn't want to partake in the yoga.
That would have been
portion,
funny if
but-
Lenny was doing yoga with him.
But now we get emails like that. We're saying like the expectation of content creators, all right? That definitely wasn't a thing when I first started. There wasn't an expectation of us to create content for
Part of the
them.
growth.
So it's changed a lot. It is part of the growth.
So like, Justin, Drew, like, give your thoughts. I mean, I gave it like our idea why we needed to jump all in and why we did it. And it was a group decision. And we're like, screw it. If you guys just want to touch on when you guys take the lead. And
Yeah, content is king.
that's in the playbook, by the way.
But
There you go. Content is king. All right. Podcast over. No.
Yeah.
but really, content, is not king. It's actually the kingdom,
Yeah.
like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's really what it is. It's long term.
Yeah.
Content's long term for what we're doing here. A lot of companies will just go, do it for the sprint. We're here for the marathon, so it takes
Perfect way to put it.
it takes
Yeah.
a while to get things moving. For instance, the podcast, we just started,
Now we have a media room.
and now we have a media room we're in
Yeah.
right now.
No, this is
know,
awesome.
So it's like I feel like every 6 months everything's getting larger and
Constantly changing.
changing.
If you had told me 17 years ago we'd be sitting here doing this, I mean, nobody had heard of a podcast, but I mean, sitting in a room specifically meant for
Yeah.
our, I mean, how many we had 4 or 5 of us in that little office at one point.
Yeah,
in
Brad,
time.
we were all stuffed in like Brad's
No,
office.
Back in
we
the-
had like 8 people
At one
that
point in
office.
time. Okay.
Wait,
listen.
in the-
I
like
was
where-
sitting on a beanbag chair. Oh,
Wait, where Taylor sits?
No. So where Bill Newman
no,
sits up. So
no.
you know where JK's office is
Yeah.
upstairs?
Yeah.
So there's a little office next to it. There was about 4 desks in there, a beanbag chair, and a little other chair. So we'd go up there, huddle in the morning. Justin would be like, Drew would be like, hey, we need this done today. See you later. Everyone would be in there. Then you come back, we'd go through it. We went and Justin would be like, hey, let's go through this. We were all stuffed in there. We would eat lunch in there together.
Oh, yeah.
No,
When
everybody
did you
came
move
back
over
at
to
the same time.
like the BDC? When did it move there?
So BDC was a dealership when they first got here.
Well, that is true.
BDC
It was
didn't
still
become
WS. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was an operating dealership. I don't know exactly what year we moved over.
I think when I was talking to my dad, I think BDC was like
It was
2011.
Yeah. So
say,
was
yeah.
when WS.
also in the BDC, they used to have like a little. We went real serious social media when we first got that room. We had our own
Yeah.
conference table in the back,
Oh, yeah.
like instead of a desk. But then we were really running out of space again, and that's why we have all these guys on the road. But it's came a long way. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
No. I think it's just.
So like the growth. I mean, it's
I mean, what we talk about, what you've mentioned a ton here, is exponential, and really, I mean, it follows technology. Whereas you had that old Moore's law rule, which now just seems to just be going out of control. Where every 2 years, the speed and things of technology and processing that doubled. You got to look at the way that we operated. Look at every 2 or 3 years and look at the size of the team as we progressed along that, and it follows the way technology is, and that's one of the blessings of this company is that they've always been behind this team, and whatever we need to do to get it the best from the get-go, do
get
it. And that's why we've been able to grow and be so successful in this area. And that, I mean,
yeah. It's also finding the best people too. Yeah, we
well,
might have the best
absolutely,
stuff and, like,
absolutely. You can have the best stuff, but without the right people who know how to do it and are.
And I know from like just watching, Justin's trained people just from the beginning, like,
yeah.
fresh up, and now they're like you guys learned how a little bit of business, how to film a little bit, and then we kind of set you on your way. Now you guys are learning, wanting to be better, and understanding like creating content is so important for the brand that it's like it's awesome to see. Like I never thought in a million years, I thought we were going to really focus on marketing. We'll do a little social media, we'll just have it done.
Right.
Keep the team tight. Now we're getting into the field of like, hey, this is how you stay on top of your game and how your brand stays ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, well, great content is the best sales tool in the world, basically.
It was like a really like defining moment where if you want to think about like thinking, if that's really a good way to put it, right? Because with content, like a lot of thinking goes into it, right? Mm-hmm. I think Dave used the term when we were talking about stuff with divine intervention, right? From Hassie's. He used that in the podcast when we were talking about certain stuff with me not being able to drive and Ready Coffee being at my house. He called it divine intervention, right? So divine intervention, when I first couldn't drive, right, I was still doing inventory photography up until that point. So what is that? That was right January 1st of 2022. I couldn't drive anymore, right, for that whole next year and a half or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But now that was, I'm either sitting in my house, driving in the car with Steve in a passenger seat. Right. So what the hell else am I going to do?
Props
Can't
to
drive
Steve.
cars anymore. No, props to Steve. He drove me around everywhere. He was there for me through it all. Yeah. But I had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
And that's when everything changed for me in terms of content becoming my main priority because I no longer could do inventory photography. So for me, that was a defining moment in the change, right? And so I started in 2021. Then it was a year later is when there was a defining moment in a lot of change. Grant Justin, that whole like Durango line thing was prior to that. That was in like 2021 at some point in time. So then after that was when it really changed, right? So now that was like me going into full-time content creation. And then that was just like the snowball effect. But for you guys, the defining moment, I think, was COVID, right? You guys no longer were in the office. That changed, that changed the team drastically, though.
So yeah, we were still in the office, and then obviously there was like, but like there was no. We needed to keep the brand alive. We needed to keep engaging with the consumer, keep saying what Healey's doing to stay safe, what we're doing for the public, how we were doing transactions, how we were still there for you to fix your vehicles. Because you gotta think about it. We had
more so what I meant. I'm sorry to cut you off. Was about how the team had to change its operation.
Sure.
Where you guys were no longer, for the most part, face to face, right? Like a lot of us work from home now. You were saying you guys were stuck in our office on a beanbag chair, right?
Yeah.
So now I could be wherever I am. Doesn't matter where I am. Right? Joel doesn't live in the state anymore, and we could still operate on the team. That's not how it was when you guys were in the office, right? You operate out of that office. I'm sure there's times you work from home and stuff like that. But now, if you realistically look at it, how many of us spend a majority of certain days at home? Right.
Yeah,
but now, so COVID was a defining moment and a change of the department.
Yeah. So I would say it's more of a hybrid because it also like we didn't think at the time, we're like, we're gonna lose some control people out of the office, but it's more hybrid. Like almost everyone's in the store weekly for the most part. But it's efficiency. Like Justin being stuck at one desk, coming into one desk is not efficient for us. He needs to be on the move. He needs to have a pulse. He needs to meet with you guys all the time. And he's able to do that with cell phone and his laptop. He was using a laptop anyways, but him on the move is much better for our team's health than sitting at a desk. And Drew's the same way. Like he'll be at home. Hey, we need him there. He goes to the meeting, but he could be at home and also he's on his stuff. Like if I message him at 4 a.m., it'll get handled.
Yeah, it does.
Probably not the best thing to say, but yeah.
But it does, and that's the. Sorry, Jane, I didn't mean to cut you off here either. But that's the beauty of kind of this growth is that we've all grown together as a base. There's this base of trust and understanding that, I don't feel super pressured. If I got to get up from, working at home and go out to get my son or something, I don't feel like I have to tell you every 5 seconds, like, Jay, I'm on the road. I got to do, like if you message me at 7:30 in the morning, chances are I'm awake anyway and have my phone and that. And if it's something I can handle right away, of course I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? There's no reason with the speed and efficiency of everything today that we have to be all in this same, room anymore, which it has its drawbacks sometimes that you're not face to face with people and you miss it. But on the other token, I'm in, more stores now than I ever was before when I was just sitting at the desk all day.
Yeah.
And I can pop in and out and I'm seeing more people and I'm getting, better interactions and happier interactions than when you're sitting at the same desk every day and the same people are passing you by and are coming to you with small little things that, that either can be handled elsewhere or, it really helped the efficiency of, I think, being thrust into that, just go back to COVID, being thrust into that, we just have to do the best that what this company does.
Yeah, we
did the best, and we got put into a situation. We went at it in full force and only grew stronger out of it, which I think could be said for a lot of places and a lot of people. That's not to diminish what it was and the whole effect that it had on the country and everything, but for us, it helped us find what this team was made of and what this company really at the end was made of and helped us push through and just take everything to the next level.
Yeah, and I think it really gave us the structure we were looking for. So for like the viewer, like the structure we have is we have our content creators, we have our photographers, then we have a team that takes the content, processes the content, makes sure it's right, puts text on it, and then feeds it out through a system called Sprout, where the content goes up. Sometimes we do some hard posting if we're doing minute, like the creators can do that as well. And then Justin and Drew overlook all that department. So that we have a nice flow now where that like COVID really jump started. We kind of had it, but it was a little messy. And then that's also another part where that book Traction too. It just shows you a structure of how a business should run. And the way it's cleaning in like chain of command was so important that we made it into a business, which I always harp on, which was amazing to see. Now everyone knows their role. Everyone knows how it flows. Obviously, there's some stuff that gets out of line that we have to tweak, but then they know the chain of command, which is important, who to answer to, how it works. We have leaders in we try to breed leaders in every single little department we have. And it's so nice to see and be able to work with you guys and do that and just find that structure. And a big part of it was COVID, but that's why our team can grow. Our team can grow to have one day have someone in each store that creates content. And then possibly have photographers at each store where we can handle everything that's the car gets through. It's already on the website. Bang, knock it out. That's the goal in life, and I think it's gonna hopefully go there. It's just we have to find the right people.
Yeah, that was gonna be the next thing I asked. Like, three of you, like, where do you see it progressing from here? Because we've talked about how it's progressed over X amount of time, but like from this moment that we're talking exactly right now, like, where do you see things possibly changing?
Do we want to go around in a circle and talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
All right.
Okay, no, I just my answer to that, and it's funny as Jay was talking about it, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I don't know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to grow, absolutely, and I'm excited for it and confident that we're going to take and tackle whatever happens next and where this is going to grow. If we're going to have people in every store, I'd love that idea to have people who are individually working on solely that brand all day long. because I think that it's only going to become that much more important that we have consistent brand messaging from the Healey level, from the manufacturer level, down to, individual salespeople who are having their own store, level accounts. Like me, let's just say Andrew, at Healey Kia or whatever, selling cars. I think nobody really knows where this is going to end up. Nobody knows what the next big, look at Threads. Okay. It came on, it was like, boom, like 500 million people on there. And then like 2 weeks later, it was down to like, what is Threads? You know what I mean? It's still there and it may grow again. And it's not something we ignore because you can't ignore anything. If it's out there and you can get your messaging on it, let's do it. Exactly. But I think to say, well, I think in 5 years we're going to be, there's going to be 25 people and you don't know for sure. I know it's going to grow and I'm confident that we have the ability and the backing and the team to really make it grow the right way. We're never one to shy away from taking a risk, like Jay said before. And I'm excited to take these risks and I'm excited to be on this team and to help lead it into that future. So I just think, where's it going to be? I don't know, but it's going to be exciting. And I think that we've got a great structure for it to grow off of.
100%.
That was like
You kind of
did a
nailed it
full
there.
answer.
I
That
definitely
was a
see,
beautiful answer.
It's tough.
one person at each store or two. I mean, that's because Healey brand's growing so much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You never know. I mean, we've acquired dealerships since I started,
Yeah.
and since you started, of course. You never know where that's going to be. We could end up with 20 websites one day, and we're going to need someone who's even under just working on those all day too, aside from just Jay and I looking at them.
So yeah, that's like another thing where some dealers like forget, like, you need someone to manage your website. Yeah, you hire these other companies, but they do an okay job managing it. Like, if something goes wrong, like, Drew could troubleshoot it before it even has to go to, say, dealer.com.
Well, that's it. And they're managing it for other people too.
And with social media, with the third parties managing your social media, like, if something goes wrong on it, you have to reach out to that person. Like, now we see it and it gets taken down or edited in 2 seconds.
A lot more traffic, email traffic, connection.
Yeah.
So basically, you were saying that there's like a step you don't have to.
Yeah, there's like a lag in it too. So say on a Saturday, something goes wrong with some of these companies. They don't help you.
It goes to support. That makes me think of, I don't remember what time we were messaging Dan, and Justin said he got a text from Dan. He's like, is this like a round the clock thing? And it was like, sometimes, there's a problem at a random time at night, at a random time in the morning. I miss Jay's messages at 4:30. Like, there's random stuff, and it was like, it is.
I mean, that's bad of me, but it's just when stuff comes to my head, like, I have to get it out, and
but it's good.
So.
But
that's also
get it out there.
It's as bad as it sounds like. We expect that, but we also hire like that. We want people that are willing to do that and go the extra mile. Like, and that's the biggest thing. Like, we're gonna grow. Healey Brothers is, I mean, it's a plan to grow. I don't know when that will be, but we do plan to get more stores. We're in this business. We love this business. We love the people that work here, and we want to have it open for another 100 years or whatever it is. So, in content and branding is always a part of that. And also, when we do it, we're not just going to hire for the fun of it. We're going to hire smart. We're going to hire the right people. We're going to hire hardworking people that understand our culture, understand our image, and willing to learn, not stay stagnant. And I mean, you and Steven are great examples of it. You guys are learning, getting better, trying new things. So that just right there shows it. It's a huge part of it.
I'm going to be honest right here. I didn't know shit about social media when I first started.
Look at the evolution of this
honest.
podcast from where we started.
Yeah.
Where you started.
This is bougie.
But look, look at this. I'm sitting in this nice chair, these legit mics.
Don't worry, these are from the old building we saved on.
The first 2 episodes we shot was with Zawadi and one with my brother. We sat there. Steve and I carried these heavy-ass chairs. They're kind of heavy when you got to carry them before a distance. From the waiting rooms to the shop or wherever we were in Kia, and we sat there with the wireless Rode mics in our hand like this. We didn't even have how we use the wires that run up the shirt. We didn't even have those yet for the first 2 episodes. All we had was the mic itself, so we sat there like this, holding it the whole time.
That's legit. That's some old school.
So it changed, and I think you used a great thing about risk and like investment and stuff like that. This shit wasn't cheap.
Oh no,
there's a lot of equipment here. There's 2 more mics sitting on that table, 2 more stands, right? So there's so much that goes into it, so much investment, and it's like any investment portfolio that you're going to go into.
But to tell the public,
there's risk and reward to all of it.
To tell everyone, it's so worth it to go in on content. whether you're not good at it or how good you get, as long as you progress, get better, try new things. And that's just not just throw that out blindly. Like, we teach you guys to look at the analytics, what worked, what didn't work. Like, how are you helping the consumer think about Healey and engage with us? That's what you're trying to do. Is keep your brand top of mind and have them engage with us. I know I can't say it enough, but that's like our goal. So the investment is a small thing for what this actually brings it to us. Granted, like I said, the podcast doesn't follow, but it's the content that's created and used on other platforms where you're getting the engagement from. So, like, if everyone thinks like, it's a big investment, yeah, it is. But in the long run, it's so worth it to what you guys create and what we what we can give back to the community when we have the best stuff to do it for one of our charity events. We have drones out there. We have people interacting with mics on there. We have crazy shots of people, like everyone talking, doing drop. My dad talking on it, getting phenomenal shots all over the course. Like, who else can do that? And it's so worth it because it's giving back to that charity. They're getting to use the content as well, but then we're also getting to use it for the community as well. So it's a win-win, and the investment's well worth it. That's all I have to say on that. It's beyond worth it, and that's why when we talk every year, like, do we need new mics? Do we need new cameras? Like, what do we need to make our content better and you guys more efficient?
Probably a lot of the times the answer is going to be yes. When you're thinking about involvement, I think you said something about technology changing. Like, everything changes every year, right? The first mic Justin gave me was a little mic that plugged into the bottom of my iPhone. I still have it. It's a Shure mic that just plugged in the bottom of an iPhone.
Thing works great.
Right? No, it does work great, except when you take the windscreen off.
Forget it.
But that everything's changed. Now we have wireless mics. I think Jack and them got those new DJI mics.
Jack loves those. He's finally on camera. I had to bribe him to get on camera.
So it all changes. So when I talk about change, right? It all depends on trends changing, right? Mm-hmm. So the podcast came because podcasts blew up. The wireless mics came because wireless mics became a thing, right? So like how you said, you don't know where it's going to go. I can kind of say the same thing because it's all going to depend on trends of what happens. Like, most people make a podcast nowadays, right? You sent me something about Rob Dyrdek doing a podcast, right?
These are great.
So many people do it nowadays, but that was because it was a snowball effect of it happening, right? So, like, with the I don't know, like, where it's going to go, I have the same answer because it all depends on, as a whole, where it goes. You're going to see the trends and you're going to want to follow them. You're going to want to continue to learn.
Exactly.
So it's like, I don't know where it's going to go either. It's all going to depend on how it changes.
But yeah, I think that was a phenomenal chat there. And like, we have to adjust, and that's why we just don't use one platform. Like, if you just use one platform, God forbid, like TikTok, like, think about that. Right. You could be toast in a couple of weeks if you just use TikTok.
Was it 60 days they got?
I mean, we have a lot of followers on there, but we're engaging with every single platform and trying to grow on every single one and doing the right thing. And can we be better? 1,000%. But I think we have the team in place. You guys are phenomenal.
So are you, Jay.
So glad we started this way back then, and now we have a thriving team and need to get better every single day. We're not the best, and we can't think we're the best, so we always have to keep growing and getting better and knocking out of the park.
And I know we got to wrap this up because you got to go talk about something that's growing, and that's
it's downstairs.
So, but that's another change, right?
Selling cars on Amazon. So.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.